You don't make decisions with your goals. You don't make decisions with your prefrontal cortex. You don't make decisions with logic. Do you know how we make decisions? I didn't invent this. A neuroscientist by the name of Damasio, who does his research in Brazil, who gave an incredible TED Talk and wrote about this forever and ever and ever. We make decisions with feelings. 95% of our decisions are made by how you feel in the moment. And that is the problem. You need to take control of the moment and leverage the power of your decisions and make them up here. Because when I was lying in bed, I wasn't saying to myself, I should get up because that's going to help me start my day right. I was saying, do I feel like getting up?
No, you don't.
No. Do you feel like making that cold call? No, you don't. Do you feel like doing that third set of reps? No, you don't. Do you feel like having that hard conversation? No, you don't. Do you feel like ending this relationship, whether it's in business or in your life, that is sucking you dry? No, you don't. We make decisions based on our feelings, and that is robbing you of joy and opportunity. And it is blinding you from the fact that how you change your life is one 5-second decision at a time. One push at a time. And if you accept the fact that you may never feel ready and you may never feel motivated and you may never feel confident, you may never feel courageous, and that's okay, but you can still push yourself forward. What happens over time is as you start to see yourself becoming the person that takes action, that you start to see yourself becoming the kind of person that speaks even though your voice is shaking. You're the kind of person that has a bias toward moving instead of a bias toward thinking. Guess what happens? You build the skill of confidence and courage. And so what happened for me is I was stuck, Lewis. I was so stuck. We were heading straight for divorce. We were heading for bankruptcy. I knew I wanted to change things. And so one night I see this commercial. This is the stupidest story on the planet, but this is what happened. I see this commercial. And, again, I also was drinking too much. I probably had a couple Manhattans in me. Sure. That's my drink. I'm from the Midwest, just like you. Yeah. All right, little Manhattan there, little bourbon. And there was a rocket ship launching.
On a commercial?
Yeah. And I had this instinct, this innovation, this disruptive idea, right? Oh, my God, Mel. That's the answer. Tomorrow morning, you're going to launch your ass out of bed like a rocket ship. You're going to move so fast, you can't even think about your problems. Dumb, right? Mm-hmm. Totally dumb. But seems like this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. I cannot believe I have this chick on my podcast.
No, I understand it. You got to get moving first.
Yes. And so this is a question about, do you make decisions with your heart or do you make decisions with your head? And how the hell do you know? How do you know? In fact, I was just talking with my creative director, and she was sharing with me that a friend of hers is going through this terrible thing right now. It's not terrible. It's just what happens in life, where she knows that the relationship that she's in isn't right. They get along really well. Things are really easy, but in her heart, she knows it just isn't right. Those are the kinds of decisions that are really difficult to make. And so it gets to the heart of Emily's question, which is, how do I know whether to make a decision with my head or a decision with my heart? I'm the kind of person that believes you should always make decisions with your heart and soul. You can use your brain for math. You can use your brain to look at the fine print in a contract. But when it comes to the actual feel of the decision, you always want to go inward and check it against your heart and soul. How do you do that? Here's the simple test. Does the decision that you're about to make expand you, expand your future, or expand the possibilities of your life? If the answer is yes, then the decision is yes, no matter how terrifying it is. If you conversely look at the choice that you have to make, and the decision will shrink you, will silence you, will inhibit you in some way, then the answer is no. No matter how easy the decision is, no matter how safe the decision is, the answer is no. Now, one of the things I want to point out that when you start to use this, does it expand or does it shrink me? Does it open possibilities or does it keep things closed? Does it raise my voice or does it silence me, right? Is that there's always a short-term and a long-term impact to the decision. The short-term impact to making an expansive decision a decision that's based in your heart and your soul, sometimes it's terrifying because sometimes it means moving, or it means changing a job, or changing a relationship, or having a difficult conversation, or starting something new. And those sorts of things are always uncomfortable. So brace for impact, put the force fields up, but make the decision anyway. Because the long-term impact of making a decision from your heart and soul, that is where the best life comes from. Because you're living for what's true for you, not what's safe in the moment. I hope that helps. And let me know how you use this expanse versus shrink scale in order to make decisions that you're facing right now. If your friend is facing a problem, when you have to make decisions on behalf of your friend, you tend to think from multiple perspectives, you think about multiple outcomes, and ultimately you make a much better decision. What they found in research, though, is if they put you in the exact same situation, facing the exact same thing that your friend is, you're not able to be so objective because you're emotional, and you don't make that great a decision. What's the conclusion? Well, when you make decisions for other people, you're great. When we make decisions for ourselves, decisions that can be emotional, we're not so good at it. That's where the power of objectivity comes in. It's the ability to make a decision from a third party's perspective. Let me explain. So if you're facing a really important decision and you can feel yourself getting emotional, maybe you're thinking about asking for a raise, or changing your career, or changing your major, or ending a relationship, or starting a relationship, whatever it may be. If it's something that is emotional for you, you're going to have a hard time thinking about all the options, and you're going to be really attached emotionally because maybe you're concerned about the people who may be impacted by your decision. Maybe you're managing that somebody's going to be disappointed or hurt by what you need to do for you. This is when the power of objectivity is really important. Pick somebody that you really admire. I mean, it could be somebody like a Bill Gates or a Richard Branson or an Oprah Winfrey, or maybe you have a mentor. And stop yourself and ask, what would Oprah do in this situation? What would Richard Branson do in this situation? What would your mentor do in this situation? Bringing that level of third-party objectivity will yank you out of your body and your emotions, and it will help you give yourself the perspective that you need and the distance from your emotions so that you can actually assess your options and make the best decision for you. What would Mel do if Mel were making the decision, the best decision? You know, there's a really interesting example of somebody who did this in sports, and at the time, he actually got a lot of flack for it. It was LeBron James. Now, LeBron James, as you know, played for the Cleveland Cavaliers for a really, really long time, and he's arguably one of the best basketball players to ever hit the NBA. So he made this announcement that he was going to leave the Cleveland Cavaliers, where he had been playing forever, had rabid fans, and he was going to leave them and go to Miami.
Miami Heat. That was the conclusion you woke up with this morning.
That was the conclusion I woke up with this morning.
He was giving an interview to ESPN, and what he said was this. He said, LeBron James needs to do what's best for LeBron James. Now, people kind of laughed at him because it's a funny way to say the sentence, but this guy's really smart. He was leveraging the power of objectivity. Mel Robbins needs to learn how to do what's best for Mel Robbins, and you need to learn how to do what's best for you. And your life, your work, it all comes back to the decisions that you make. So the next time that you're facing a really important decision, or you start to feel that you're getting wrapped around the axle because you're thinking about what everybody else is going to think or how this is going to impact people that you care about, stop. Take a step back, leverage the power of objectivity, and do what is actually best for you.
I'm also excited to talk to you because I am going through a major life change right now. And I consider myself to be a very confident person. And this major life change has literally rocked my world. And I am in a daily battle with self-doubt, with fear, and maybe you watching at home, you know, you've experienced a time, or you can relate to this idea that you have made a decision. Maybe it's to end your marriage, or it's to change your career, or it's to move across country, or it's to heal yourself, or to not have kids. Or in my case, my husband and I made a decision to sell the family home that we have raised our kids in for 24 years. I've lived almost half my life here. My parents, Lisa, never moved from the home I
Wow.
grew up in. My grandfather was born in the house and died in the house that my mother was raised in on a big farm. Like, this has never been modeled for me. And so when I made the decision, everybody, it felt right. And I knew it was the right decision. But now that we're on the backside of it and we're a couple weeks away from closing and packing this place up, I feel my heart shrinking. I feel these massive, like hot waves of anxiety. I felt waves of anxiety that feel like electricity. I don't know what your waves of anxiety feel like, Lisa. Do they feel like electricity, or like this is like lava coming through my body?
It feels like I've got a beating drum in my chest, and it's like, and it almost like vibrates throughout my whole body. That's kind of how it feels to me.
Lisa, I have not felt this anxious and like scared in decades. Decades. And so, you know, you wrote this book, Radical Confidence, and I do not feel radically confident right now. I feel like the Mel Robbins that I know has been knocked on her ass, and I'm wallowing, and I am doing all the things that I know to do. Get up, get moving, don't drink, move your body, reach out to friends, journal, go to therapy. Like, I am so busy. I think almost trying to outrun the fear.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but what were you going to say? Because I just saw you go.
Yeah, literally. So there's this thing I call in the book about squirrels, like filling your life. I think it was the movie Up, where the dog has, like, you know, where the dog sees a squirrel and it runs off, and then it sees another squirrel and it runs off over here. It's like they become distractions, but almost the distractions help you not look at the realities of what is actually happening within you. So you even said you're filling your days up so much with almost these strategies that you're trying to overpower the actual thing. You're trying to beat it out versus actually letting it speak, letting it have a voice, and then addressing it with no judgment in yourself. Because that's the point though, right? You even said, I haven't felt anxiety in years. And so in those moments, I actually go, oh, she's back again.
Are you kidding me? Because I'm literally like, what the fuck is this bitch doing here? I thought I got rid of you in law school and I was 20. What? Like, and so I'm like, get out of here. And now I'm going to like get busy and clean the house and do this and on and on. And radical confidence is something else. And it's something that I don't think I've actually ever practiced. So you and I know the same, and I want to unpack this using my story. Okay. Because I know that there are times in your life where you make a decision. You're going to break up with that person, or you're going to actually say yes to their proposal. You're going to change your job. You lose somebody you love. So it might not even be a decision. It's something that's happening and you don't want it to be happening. You get a diagnosis. It's terrifying, right? In my case, you know, I make this decision. I think I'm confident about it, but the second the decision becomes real, I feel like I'm now a no. I feel like I signed up to go skydiving. And I was all excited when we were on the ground, Lisa, because you were going. And then Lisa's all excited. So I get excited. And this is great. And Lisa and I are going skydiving. And Lisa gets on the plane and she's off. And I'm standing down there like, this is exciting. And then I watch Lisa go out and I'm like, oh my God, she made it look so easy. And then the plane pulls up and I'm like, it's my turn. Okay, I'm in. I strapped to the person. I got my thing on. And now I'm like, I don't want to do this. Don't let me out. Like, I'm like, no. And I'm like backing away. And that's where I am right now in my life.
Yeah.
Right now. And so how can I face this situation and find or use radical confidence to help me navigate through one of the literally most emotional decisions I've made in my life?
So, girl, thank you for being so vulnerable and honest. And in situations like that, the thing that I will say a lot is give yourself grace. Like, give yourself grace that maybe some part, right, you're trying to push her out. Like, no, oh my God, I thought I got rid of her. I tried that too. I really did. And anytime I tried something new, anytime I made a different decision in my life, she would come back again. And I would beat myself up over the fact that she would come back again. And so I realized, what if I just embrace her? What if I'm just like, oh, okay, you're back here again. That's okay. But remember, I'm not going to let you drive my life, and kind of just reminding yourself that instead of beating yourself up, allowing her to come back and say, why is she back again? What is she trying to tell me? So taking the negative voice that is the bitch and then saying, how on earth can this be my best friend? And maybe she's
How the hell do you do that? Because when that fear comes up, Lisa, it is terrifying. Like when you hear that negative voice, and the negative voice in this scenario, I know it's so stupid, but I literally go, you're selling this house in suburban Boston because you're lonely. Your kids have left. You've been under construction somewhere else. You work here alone. You live here alone. This chapter of your life is ended. You are a ghost in an old chapter. It is time to move on, woman. I know that. It is time for something bigger. I know that. But when this fucking bitch shows up, she's like, you think you were lonely in suburban Boston? Wait till you live on a mountain, woman. You're not going to see anybody. Oh, you thought it was hard to work virtually during the pandemic outside of Boston? Wait till you try to launch a podcast alone on a mountain, woman. You're fucked. Like I literally, what have you done? What have you done? You screwed it up. You screwed it up. How do you have this no BS method. You talk a lot about the why. How do we use these tools in moments like this to find our radical confidence, Lisa?
Yeah. So you've got to know your why. You have to be so ingrained in that anything that comes your way can pull you through. So the negative voice, the fear is the ego speaking. The ego is trying to say like, hey, I'm here. Like, you don't want to do that because you're right. Everything you just said, but Mel, what if you don't have Wi-Fi up there? So it's trying to protect you to say, don't do it. Don't do it. Because
you just taught me something, Lisa, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, please.
When I hear the word ego, I always think strength. Or I think being conceited. I've never thought about the ego and the voice in your head as being something there to protect you when you're scared.
Yeah.
Never thought about it that way. So if I can understand this, and I would love to hear where you've done this in your life, where you've been paralyzed, that you have to, one of the key principles of practicing radical confidence, particularly in moments like ones I'm going through right now, is you have to attach yourself to why do you want to jump out of this airplane? Why? What is the bigger thing that you're up to in life that caused you to be pulled to do this, to long to do this? Have you ever had this moment for yourself?
Absolutely. So multiple times actually in my life. So going from being the stay-at-home wife, supporting my husband for 8 years, cooking, cleaning for him, then helping Quest, like my husband, oh, I'm a good Greek wife, I'll help you, and not realizing it would grow at 57,000%. And in that growth, having transitioned into, oh my God, maybe I love business. Maybe this is actually something I love. The idea of tearing apart my identity of being the good, supportive wife. This identity that I was told my whole life I would end up being. I got accolades for it. I got pats on the back for it. I was getting all the validation of what a great wife I was. And yet it wasn't fulfilling me. And yet it wasn't giving me the life I actually wanted.
I hear you.
So, and it wasn't, I heard something else. I wasn't sure if that
was. I thought like you got somebody calling you.
No. So if it's not, what was my line?
If it wasn't, I don't know where we are here. Okay, gotcha.
So I was holding my identity to the validation that I was getting. And yet, as Quest was growing more and more, I started to love it. I loved the challenges. I loved seeing what I was made of. And now here I was in a moment where my voice is telling, well, Lisa, you don't know anything about business. Are you really going to give up this identity, the thing that gives you the accolades, the things that give you the validation? What if you fail? What if you make a transition and you try this business thing and you suck at it? And what happens if you're god awful at it? Where are you going to get your validations from? Where are you going to get the pats on the back from? Where are you going to get The feel that you have now, while it doesn't make you happy, it didn't make me happy, but the validation and the feeling I got from doing it becomes the velvet handcuffs. So knowing that, I had to say, what is the life I want? So attaching yourself to the why, attaching yourself to this goal emotionally. So I started to realize I had a thing over here where I was supporting my husband and I was feeling good about it. But on this other side, in pursuing the hard things, in overcoming obstacles, Quest became a mission. It became, I was actually helping women. Like we were getting letters from women who were in the anorexic community. And they said, this one woman specifically, I remember, she sent us a letter. And she said she was in the hospital at like 40 pounds, Mel. She was on her deathbed.
Oh, God.
And she said, thank you for bringing Quest into my life. You have now made me okay with calories again. Now, when you hear that sort of thing and you attach yourself to the why, that when you step in, all these hard things to do actually deliver on this why, I now know I have to make the change. So I know my why now. I know that I really want to change from being the supportive wife into helping build Quest.
All right. So let me unpack mine. So I, like you, it's interesting because your story went from you were the supportive wife for 8 years, supporting, as many of you know, Impact Theory, that is part of the Impact Theory Global brand that Lisa is the co-founder and president of, the Impact Theory Studios. But a lot of people know Tom, your husband, because he started, that show. You guys have 7.5 million people in your Impact Theory audience. And so you supported Tom for 8 years. You guys are co-founders then of Quest Nutrition. And so you went from bucking all of the stuff that you were told to do, being raised in a Greek Orthodox family. You're going to get married, you're going to support your husband, you're going to have children, and discovering that you love business. Yeah. And the impact that you were making and the fulfillment that you felt became your why. Correct. The why you were going to not do what society and your upbringing and what you thought you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
I have something that's almost like the reverse. As the more successful I've become, the lonelier I've become, and the more stressed out I've become. And my why is to create more peace. It's to create more ease. It's to create more fun. It's to be much smarter about my business so that I can accelerate and magnify the impact without accelerating and magnifying the stress. And a big piece of me deciding that it was time to sell this house is because I race back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and jump on planes, and I am never anywhere, which is why I'm lonely. And it's just like it probably scared you to not do what you had been told you should do and had been doing forever. It scares me to slow down and to approach business very differently so that I can have all the things that I really want, which is more time with my family, more peace, and a bit of separation between the empire and the impact that I love building and the peace that I need and the connection that I need in my personal life. And when I say that, I'm like, fuck this house. I'm out of here. Back this shit up. Let's go.
Right? See? Yeah, it all depends in the moment, right? So for instance, if we even know hangry is a thing, right? You don't eat, you get mad, and all of a sudden you may say something you shouldn't have said. So if we understand that one little thing by not eating has an impact on how we feel about ourselves, now think about all the other things that come along with what you're doing. You're having to look back at 25 years or however long you've been there, right? So all of that is emotional, of course. And so now it's like, how do you separate why you're trying to do it with the emotion you're feeling?
Oh, I love this, because here's what I just got from this. The grief is completely appropriate.
1,000%, Mel.
The fear is not necessary. Like the fear is something through radical confidence. If I'm able to separate the process of grieving, which is an emotional process that you cannot attach a timeline to, that is so healthy and so important. And it's also all about the love and the loss and the, like all of it. And you can't outrun it. And that is something that's really a big part of this major change is the grief. But what I've done is I've collapsed the fear of the unknown and my lack of confidence in knowing whether or not this next thing is going to be successful. So if you look at that, the why, right? So you've got the why. So everybody, the first piece of advice from Radical Confidence, if you are in the low, if you're in a big major decision, if you're scared about something, you did not lose your confidence because it's in you. We're going to tap into it. And if I'm hearing you correctly, step one, when you hit that moment is you got to attach yourself to your why. And my why is that I want to make a greater impact and have much more peace and ease in my personal life and more time with family and friends. And that's why I've got to remove this variable of a house that my entire family has outgrown, even though I don't want to give up the memories. Like I'm still walking around here because it keeps me close to my kids. And then you're also saying, though, and this is the really important part that I've actually never heard anybody say. I'm sure lots of people have said it, but I've never heard somebody say it in a way that I really understood it, Lisa. And that is that the fear is your ego trying to protect you from something you're scared of.
Yeah.
And when you feel the fear, you need to detach it from everything else. And you need to turn towards that fucking fear. You write this chapter. I'm so glad we're talking about this because this is my favorite chapter, everybody. This is make your negative voice your bitch and then turn it into your BFF. And I'm telling you right now, my negative voice is my bitch right now. Like I didn't make it my bitch. It is bitching at me.
Yes.
It is scaring me. And so the voice that's scaring you going, I can't do this. I'll never make friends. If I was lonely here in Boston, then I'm going to be really lonely on a mountain. What the fuck have I done? Just screw bitch, 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 bitch. My daughter has this right now. She got into this great program in London and she's pursuing her dream of being a singer-songwriter. And she's 5 days away from leaving. And her fear, so her ego is going, you're not going to like it. You're going to be homesick. This is going to be terrible. Blah, 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 blah. So what do you do when that fucking bitch is bitching at you?
You literally listen to her. You go, all right.
I don't want to listen to her.
All right, Mel, she's
I've
your
been
best.
listening to her and I'm crying in my bed. How do I stop listening to her?
Okay, here's what I love it. Okay, so here's the thing. Just like a partner, your spouse, your best friend, she's going to tell you the hard things. You don't sometimes want to hear it, right?
I ignore Chris. I'll listen to you. So
okay. All right. All right. There you go. So your friend is telling you, like, hey, girl, you may want to watch out for this. Hey, you know what? This actually could be a bad thing. Like, what if you are lonely? So now I go, oh, she's actually a friend trying to warn me of something that may happen. Now, as my friend, because she cares about me, because she doesn't want me to get my ego dented, she doesn't want me to be embarrassed, she doesn't want me to feel shame or guilt. So she's warning me. So if she's warning me, hey, you're going to be lonely. Okay, great. Thank you for letting me know. Maybe I will feel lonely. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to have radical confidence and I'm going to put something down. So let's say you have a list, right? On the one side, what is that bitch telling you? And now if it was your BFF, what is she trying to help you come up with a strategy or a tactic to mitigate that when it happens? So maybe, here's the thing, Mel, maybe you do get lonely. That's very real. And now here's the thing. What are you going to do about it? You're going to say, all right, I've got a game plan. I've pinged Lisa and I've told her, hey, look, I'm actually really worried about going. I may feel lonely. Do you mind that you become my partner in crime or whatever word you want to be? It's like, okay, yeah, of course, Mel. So now you can go by the fear and you go, cool, thank you, fear. You've just warned me of something that may deter me from loving the new decision that I've made. And so taking that down, piecing it together, everything you just said. So even your daughter, it's like, well, I may feel, what if I get there and I miss my family? Okay, great. That's actually a very valid fear. What are you going to do if you miss your family? Instead of wallowing, like you said, right? And it's like, oh my God, I miss my family. You go to your cheat sheet, which is your radical confidence cheat sheet. And you go,
everybody, I'm making mine right now.
Oh,
I'm making mine right now. I'm turning this conversation into a coaching session for myself, which, by the way, I would have paid thousands and thousands of dollars for by the minute. Because if you can get me out of bed, not wallowing and terrified of this big decision, then that changes everything. And I think you kind of just did.
Yeah, taking that critic, right? Because I tried to stop the critic in my head. I tried to, but I couldn't. So I'm like, okay, what if I can turn the critic into my coach? And that's exactly what you've just written down. The critic is saying this, but your coach is telling you what you can do if you're fearful of this. So you've really taken this thing that used to be crippling, it was your kryptonite, and now you've made it your superpower. And the other thing I really want to hammer home, Mel, you said it and it's so beautiful, is the grief thing. This is so powerful because I think we live in a world where we think just because we're moving towards something we love, that we don't have the right to mourn the life we are leaving behind. And when I decided I didn't want children.
I was just going to ask you about this.
Okay.
When you said that, I literally was like, I have to ask her, because you on social media are such an empowering voice for anyone who has decided that they're not going to have kids. They just not what they want in terms of the way that you want to live your life.
Yeah.
So is there grief for you? And how did you come to that decision for yourself? And why are you personally so vocal about the decision?
Yeah, thank you, Mark. And even in my decision talking, it really isn't whether I think people should have kids or not, right? It's really about when you think you are going to have one life and you change your mind. So I married Tom thinking I was going to have 4. Like literally, I told him I wanted 4 children because I come from a big Greek family. I always loved the big grand family. And 10, 15 years in, when I realized I love entrepreneurship, I have a chapter called Open Up the Can of Worms and Embrace the Ick. Now, open up the can of worms is me asking myself the hard question, do I actually want children? And so many of us hide from asking ourselves that question, or a hard question, because the ick is what comes with the mess that is the hard question. So let's say, for instance, do I actually want children? And the answer is no. The ick is now I have to talk to Tom, my husband, who may still want children. Now what happens, Mel? Is he going to say, well, babe, you promised me. And so it's I want children or we have to get a divorce. I don't know. Right. That's the ick that you have to face when you ask yourself the hard question.
What was the moment when you were like, wow, I actually realized I don't want 4 kids? How did you get to that decision?
So do you ever feel like it's a whisper in your head first?
The house was.
Yeah. It
like
becomes
keep going.
So it becomes this little whisper that maybe we try to ignore because it's uncomfortable. It's like, I don't want to ask myself this hard question, because if I say to myself, to your point, do I really want to live here anymore? Now you have to deal with all the emotion that comes behind it. You have to tell your kids. What if your kids are upset? Now you've disappointed your kids. What if your husband doesn't want to move? Right? There's so many things that come with you saying, maybe I don't want to live here anymore, that ends up people living in the same house that they didn't want to live in for 10 years. So it's making sure that you ask yourself the hard question, listening to the answer, which is the whisper, right? So the whisper is, do you still want to live here? Do you still want to live here? And in fact, let me back up. So you listen to the whisper and then you let it speak.
Do you remember the first moment and where you were when it went from a whisper to a speak?
The interesting thing is someone else saw it in me before I did. I didn't want to acknowledge the whisper. And one day, one of Tom's business partners turned around and says, Lisa's not going to have children, because he had seen me go from a supportive wife to now business. And I was like, no, of course I'm going to have kids. I'm just going to do this entrepreneurship thing until I'm ready. Right. And so he turned around and he was like, Lisa's not going to have kids. And it was so upsetting. It was so upsetting. And I went to Tom. I was like, I can't believe that he said it. Who does he think he is? Why the hell did I have such an emotional reaction to it? That was the thing. I was like, because Tom even said, babe, why does it bother you? Who cares what other people think? And I was like, why does it bother me? And it was because I was ignoring the whisper and he just called it out, because he saw in my actions how much I was thriving in business. He saw, but because of my belief system, the belief system that I had as a Greek woman, I was going to have children. I didn't want to ask myself the hard question. So when he said that, I actually stepped back and said, why do I believe that I'm going to have kids in the first place? Like, with no judgment, assess my belief system. And once I started to write down literally almost like, what are the first things that come to your mind? And I was like, all right, legacy, like chatting something out like as quickly as possible. So I was like, all right, legacy. And I was like, well, what does legacy mean? So I wrote it down, legacy.
Oh.
What does legacy mean to me? All right. Well, I said legacy because to me, it was about having children to pass on your wisdom. That was what my dad used to tell me. And I was like, but do I actually believe that? I'm like, well, a legacy to me could be, having, making a mark on your life now so that when you're gone, you're remembered. All right. Do I actually need to give birth to my own children to do that? Oh, no, I actually don't need to. And then it was like, why else do I believe that I want to have children? I really love the idea of having a little Tom running around, a little mini Tom. I love the idea of having a daughter that one day I could help her mindset not be crippling like the mindset that I had growing up. So all these emotions were real, which is why I didn't want to necessarily say, but is this worth, right? Is this something that I really want to have children over? And so once I looked at that and I said, you know what? I actually still want that. But what I want more than that is the life that I'm experiencing in business. And in that moment, Mel, going back to your grief, I realized I had to mourn the life I was leaving behind. It didn't mean that I didn't want the life. It didn't mean that some of the decisions that I was making weren't going to be heartbreaking to me. But I realized that what I wanted more than having children was actually not to have children.
Wow.
And so I had to sit with Tom. And we had as a relationship, our communication. And I said, babe, I need to give you the space for you to mourn the wife you thought I was going to be. That's going to take process. What can I do to do that? Right. And so I, with respect, said, he's used to me taking care of him, putting his clothes out, cooking for him every day. And so there is a grief process when you lose someone, right? Those first moments where it's like you're surprised by all the changes.
Right.
So I said, babe, I need to give you the space to have this grieving process. So what does that look like? All right, I take care of you 7 days a week. So next week, babe, I'm going to take care of you 6 days a week. And then the following week, I'm only going to cook for you 5 days a week. And then the week after that, I'm only going to give you 4 days a week. And what ended up happening was I embraced that both of us were actually sad that we were giving up this part of our life. But we know our why because we knew we were going to do it to move forward to the life that we really wanted. And so giving yourself the space, Mel, right now to grieve all the things that are very true to you. But to have that why, which is where we started, but to make sure that the grief doesn't deter you from your why.
This is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. I can't tell you how much I've gotten out of this. I want to try to unpack it because I think it's so valuable what we've just discussed. And as somebody who has spent a lot of time running and a lot of time being faster. I mean, even just think about the 5-second rule. If I move faster than the anxiety, I won't be there when it hits.
Right.
But the problem that I faced, and it has worked for decades, but the problem that I've now faced in making this massive life-changing decision is that in those moments when you get the diagnosis or somebody that you love dies, or you make one of the major changes, your anxiety catches up. And that's exactly what's happened in this moment. And you've explained so beautifully and so simply how to practice this skill of radical confidence, particularly in these moments where doubt or fear or uncertainty take over.
Any decision can be divided into what do I need to do versus how and when do I need to do it. For the what, that is intuition. And by intuition, I use the word energy. And the way to answer any question for yourself personally that you don't immediately know the answer to is to ask this question. Does it energize and expand my life, or does it shrink it? If it energizes and expands your life, the answer is hell yes. You should absolutely do it. That is what you should do. If the decision shrinks you or it deflates you, then the answer is hell no, you should not do it. This is an incredible tool to use in deal making, by the way, because I'm in the middle of negotiating a massive media deal at the moment, and it's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And when you're negotiating for something you really want, whether it's somebody that you're dating or it's a salary or whatever, in my case it's a massive media deal, you can get really ego driven, right?
Right.
And you can start to get very attached to the deal or to the person or to the whatever. But you have to stop and ask yourself, is this deal or this person actually expanding and energizing me? Or are there aspects of it that deplete and shrink me? And if there's any aspect of it that depletes and shrinks, you either have to change that aspect of the deal or the relationship structure, or you have to say no. Period.
Right.
If you decide that, yeah, it energizes me and I really want to do it, then that's what you want. Next, you've got to think about the outcome, which is how and when you make it happen.
Right.
We need to stop asking questions, and we need to be a leader in our own life, and we need to make decisions that support our family, that support our safety, and that support the things that we care about. And this all started to go down when we were still taping last week, and Mindy made the decision to get rid of audiences. And there were tons of phone calls back and forth with our production company and with various people about, should we get rid of audiences? Should we not get rid of audiences? What are we doing? What are we not doing? Lots of questioning. I'm sure you're questioning right now. Do you know one of the biggest things that everybody's questioning right now, at least in my friend group, because I've got a 21-year-old who's a junior in college, a 19-year-old who's a freshman in college, and a soon-to-be 15-year-old, is everybody's been relating to self-isolation like it's some big snow day. It's not. And so what everybody is asking each other in my friend group right now is, the kids that are coming home from college, the kids that are home from high school, the kids that are home from middle school, should they be allowed to get together? Should they be on play dates right now? And here's the thing. First of all, I think absolutely not, because self-isolation means you're protecting yourself and your family from all the people out there who you don't know who they've come in contact with. If these kids have come home on airplanes, if they've been on school buses, most of these kids don't have any symptoms. Self-isolation means you isolate yourself with your family. And so to me, the decision needs to be made, because you can spend the next week questioning whether or not you should get a haircut, questioning whether or not you should let your friends come over, questioning whether or not you should get together with the neighbors. And what really needs to happen right now is you need to be able to make decisions that support you and your family. Because when you start making decisions, you move out of thinking and ruminating and stressing and feeling analysis paralysis. And the second you make a decision, sorry, kids, you're going to hate this, but no friends are coming over for 2 weeks, because that's what the leading epidemiologists say. And as a family, we need to isolate. And if we isolate for a week and then we let a friend come in who's flown here from Texas, because that's where they go to college, who knows what they were exposed to on that plane? That's the point of isolation. Now, am I excited for the blowback when our kids are basically told you're stuck with mom and dad for 2 weeks? Nope, not excited for that at all. But in this moment in time, you really need to be making decisions, because that's where the power is going to come. And the other thing is that your kids are going to be looking to you for certainty. And so here's the scope in which I am making decisions with my husband. What do we need to do as a family in order to keep ourselves safe? And what do we need to do as a family in order to keep ourselves positive? And what do we need to do as a family in order to change our routine every day to something new, since we are in a very new and a very temporary moment of time, where a new routine to the day helps all 5 of us in our family seize the opportunity that these next 2 to 3 weeks are. Because here's the other thing that I know. There's not a single challenge that you faced in your life that hasn't made you a stronger and better person. And there is no doubt that this is a challenging moment in time. Even if you're not in a hot spot, even if you're not in a country that is not quite in a lockdown yet, this is going to be a challenging time globally. If you listen to the experts, it's coming. And so on yesterday's broadcast, what I talked about are the three things that I want you to focus on. So I'm going to repeat them. And then I want you to write in the comments, where do you need to make a decision? Where are you questioning? And questioning what to do is causing you a lot of anxiety. And what decision are you going to make in order to make a decision and take control of something that you're worried about? Where you're going to make a decision even though you know that your family members aren't going to like it. You're going to make a decision even though it means that you are maybe admitting to yourself, Jesus, this is serious. I guess I better stock up on some food. I haven't wanted to admit that. My parents are down in Florida right now. They're making a decision to go back to Michigan. They're not sick, but they have been worried about what happens. What happens if one of us gets sick and we're down here vacationing until May? Forget it. We want to be back home where our community is and where we know the hospital and where we feel safer. So instead of thinking about it, ruminating about it, they're making a decision. I want you to tell me, what decision are you going to make today instead of questioning? And let's see, I'm going to my friend's house because it makes me feel bad saying no. Well, if that's a decision that you need to make, and I see all these people saying the shelves are already empty, then maybe what you need to do is ask for some help. One of the interesting things, and we're going to send out a newsletter early this week with some links to free tools that you can use, is writing notes to your neighbors and building an email and a cell phone list. These are things that you can do. Another decision that you can do, just stay home. Another decision that you can do is, you could talk to your boss about what your comfort level is. If you don't have the kind of job where you can work remotely and you need to go to work, maybe now is the time to start reaching out for help in terms of childcare. But what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to sit and question. I don't want you to sit and ruminate. I don't want you to stay stuck thinking, because that's going to make the fear worse. So today's piece of advice is stop asking questions and start making decisions. Okay? And I want you to tell me, what are you going to do? I see that somebody canceled their trip to Hawaii. I see that somebody has asked a neighbor for support to go and do the shopping for them. I see that somebody is finding it boring at home. You're right. It is boring at home if that's the attitude you bring to it. I think being at home for 2 to 3 weeks and slowing down is a huge opportunity. And that's why it's so important for you to work on your mindset. I see that somebody's canceled their wedding. I see that somebody has decided to get to Australia instead of staying in Thailand. Somebody is arranging to work from home. Somebody is using the time to take webinars, to listen to audiobooks. I see somebody is sending supplies to their parents. I think that this is an opportunity. I see somebody else has canceled their wedding. I see somebody slowing down. I see somebody that has decided to put things on pause and to start to work on projects around the house. Yes, you can get through this. And you're going to get through this if we stay connected. Okay? And you're going to get through this if you ask for help if you need it. And you're going to get through this if you keep your mindset positive, if you keep reminding yourself that you're okay, and if you come at this from a place of being centered from your heart and centered from your kindness and centered from your spirit. I see people starting to paint. I see people doing cello lessons over FaceTime. I see people working out in a home gym. I see people working on house projects. I see people doing self-care. catching up on reading. This is going to pass. And the faster that you make decisions that are keeping you and your family safe, the faster that it will pass for you.
So how do you make a big decision, right? So it's a decision that sounds like he's going to accept a new job, but it requires him to move to another state. And notice what he said, I want it, but I'm afraid. This is the perfect question for right now because you would actually use do it anyway. You see, the thing about the way to make decisions, this is my decision-making tool. I don't think we haven't covered it yet in this, but for those of you that have followed me for a while, you know that I have this decision-making tool. In fact, we talked about it in the journaling method. So in the journaling method, if you go back to videos 9, 10, and 11, and if you look at the journaling method that we talk to you about, and look, I want to tell you something. I'm not asking you to buy this. In fact, please don't buy the 5-second journal. We don't have any more in stock. They're sold out around the globe. We'll print more. Do not buy this. I'm not doing this training to ask you to buy anything. I'm showing you this because for those of you that don't have the journaling method in front of you, if you go to 5secondjournal.com, 5secondjournal.com, if you go to 5secondjournal.com, what you will find is a ton of free templates that will show you the journaling method for free. You don't ever have to buy that. I'm telling you not to buy it. I want to be very clear. The reason why we're doing these trainings is not to get you to buy something, okay? It's to help you learn how to reset your mind. So back to the question. The opening thing in the journal, do I have one that's open here? Because then I could, well, I'll just open this one. The opening thing in the journal is a fuel gauge that has you tune in, and this is going to get to decision making, that has you tune in to how you are feeling energy-wise every morning. And so let me show you what that looks like in case you haven't seen those videos yet. So you see this little fuel gauge right here. Oh, can you see it on Instagram, Oak? Am I holding it up?
Yeah, just like not that one. Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
You can see it really
there you go. So that fuel gauge is a visual cue to have you tune into your energy and to assess whether or not you are depleted and empty about something and heavy, or the other extreme is energized, full, expanded, open to possibility. And the reason why I ask you to do that first thing in the morning to assess your mood, to assess your energy, to tune in, is because there's established research that says that your mood in your morning impacts your productivity and focus all day long. And so if you can boost your mood in the morning, it has a material impact on your focus and on your productivity all day. And so we use it in the morning in the journaling method that I've taught you in videos 9 through 11. But when it comes to decisions, I want you to do the exact same thing. I get that you're scared. It's a change. I would be kind of surprised if you weren't a little nervous about doing something awesome, like moving to a new state and starting a new job and all the possibilities that come in with it. So if you're trying to make a decision, do I do this thing that's scary or not? What you do is tune inward and really assess, how do you feel about it? When you think about yourself living in this new place and having this new job and all the possibility and growth that comes with it, do you feel dead and depleted and stuck? Or do you feel energized and alive and full of possibility? You see, if the decision is something that will expand your future, that will create possibility, that will make you grow, then it is 1,000% something that you must do. And you must do it even though you're afraid. And the fear is a very normal thing. And the fear is there because you're about to do something new. But do not use the fear to talk yourself out of making a decision that actually is grounded in growth and possibility and energizing you. So that's how I make decisions using the stuff that you're learning in the Mindset Reset. And again, you can go back to the journaling method on videos 9, 10, and 11. But if you have a big decision to make and you notice that you're afraid or you notice that you're stuck up here, go in and ask yourself, does the decision deplete me, make me stuck, make me feel dead? make me feel heavy? Or does the decision, even though it scares me, even though it's hard, is there something about it that expands possibility and opens up my life and will give me an opportunity to grow? If you're in this camp, the answer is heck yes. If you're in the dead camp and the hell no, heck no, okay? I want to try to summarize the steps to make sure that it's very clear, not only for me, forget about you guys. I want to make sure it's clear for me that first of all, it would be really smart of me to write down a long list of what I want in this next chapter of my life for real.
Yes.
And the why. And you explained that in the example around legacy. So if what I'm really after is more peace, a hell of a lot more fun, and a greater impact with more ease, I need to unpack what does that actually mean?
Yes.
And get very clear about the why. And I know that the why has to do with more time with family, more time with friends, more time and space to do bigger thinking instead of racing around being busy.
Yeah.
The second thing that I got out of this is very radical. And that is when the fear or the anxiety or the worry or the self-doubt, that little, we're going to talk about the negative bitch first before we talk about the whisper. The negative bitch in your head is just your ego trying to protect you.
Yeah.
And so when that anxiety comes up, or I wake up and I feel like that hot lava on my neck and my thoughts start to swirl, don't try to outrun it. Face the bitch and be like, all right, bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, you think I'm going to be lonely on a mountain because I'm lonely in suburbia? You think I'm not going to have any friends there because I don't have friends here? Okay. You think I'm not going to be successful doing it there because I'm not okay. And hear it. And then the way that you take the bitch and you flip her into your best friend is you say, what is this trying to warn me? What is this trying to coach me? What are the things that it's saying? Hey, if you're going to go do this, just know that you might feel lonely and that's okay. So what are you going to do about it? If you're going to go do this, just know that you should probably, reach out to friends that are doing podcasts from remote places. If you're going to do this, so that you know what steps to take. And it's in taking the steps forward to prepare for plan B.
Yeah.
So that you got a plan for when that stuff happens that is going to allow you to access the radical confidence, which feels radical in a moment where you're doubting yourself. And you just keep pushing forward and you do it over and over and over and over and over again. Because what's interesting is you also said this thing about the whisper, that the things that are meant for you and the things that are true begin as a whisper.
Mm-hmm.
And when you really start to hear the whisper, whether it's, I'm going to sign up for this program, even though it scares me, or I'm going to not have kids and sit down with my spouse, even though it scares me, or I'm going to, make a major life change and it scares me. As you start to hear the whisper, I think there's a pretty close period of time where that whisper turns into a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because she's like, hang on a minute, you're freaking ignoring me. Let me get my megaphone so that you don't.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
And then that last piece is making sure that you understand your belief, why you feel the way you do actually, Mel, because you even said your parents never moved out of the house that you were born in, correct? Your grandparents never did. So you have it seems like a belief system that holding on to the house that maybe your kids were brought up in is something and I don't want to speak for you, but maybe something you feel like you should do, or maybe feel like it's something that you saw your parents do. And now you're actually breaking that pattern. And for me, it was the same. My grandparents, my mom, everyone ended up basically thinking that I would be this stay-at-home wife, or I would be a mother. And in order for me to listen to the silence and break that, I had to say, oh, it's because I believed that this was what was going to happen. I never questioned it. So I don't know if you've ever questioned whether the house that you're in, whether it should be something that you should be in for the rest of your life, or if it was just a belief system you hold on to.
It's just a belief system I hold on to. Like, I know, just like you knew, at some point that whisper became the truth for you.
Right. Right.
I know that it's the truth. And everybody that knows me well is literally like, I thought you would have sold that house like years ago, because like with the amount of stuff you're doing and like it just doesn't make sense for you to live there. And so like somebody else saw it in you.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, exactly. And now
because when I talked to you, and I saw other friends of ours last week because they were visiting Boston, and I was sort of going like in the beginning of the freaking Crest downfall. And it was Joel, Marin, and Kat. And Kat looks at me and she's like, wait, are we really having this conversation? You're like worried about like some place in Vermont, whether you're going to live in an apartment, whether you're going to feel like you're Mel fucking Robbins. What the fuck? Like, and I'm like, you're right. I know how to do that. Why am I? Because I'm human, and because your ego comes in, and because if you keep running, this shit will catch up with you, which is why radical confidence is really about turning and facing it.
Yeah.
Instead of being afraid of it.
And then knowing that the path you choose to take in life will mean that you leave things behind. And that's where the mourning piece comes in. It's like, just because you're making a decision that's right for you shouldn't mean that you shouldn't embrace that you have to mourn the life that you're leaving behind, or the life you thought you were going to live. So maybe, Mel, for when you had your kids, and I, again, don't know, but maybe you're just like, this is the house that I'm going to bring them up in. And you've told yourself year after year after year that that's going to be the house. But now you've changed. Now your goals have changed. Now your life has changed. And now your reassessment of that isn't the same with a person who maybe first had those children.
Oh, I know what it is. You're giving me another breakthrough. Dude, I need to pay you for this.
Oh, I'm here for you. You're my bestie. You know that.
I literally feel like you just saved me. No offense to SSRIs, but I'm feeling like I'm like back. I'm feeling like the woman that crawled out of the crypt this morning, and my team had to like prop up and be like, oh God, Mel is not Mel today, that you have brought me back, woman.
So how did you go from literally working at Target and starting a side hustle? Why, first of all, did you decide to buy a camera in 2011 for $300? What was it inside you that had you want to do that?
You know what's crazy, Mel? So I was listening to this meditation the other day, and it actually gave me a vision of why I did all of that a decade ago in a way that I'd never comprehended. And in the meditation, the guy said, for all of us, there was a flame. And for most of us, we feel like ashes right now. And it's
hold
on.
Yeah. I want you to stop right there.
Yeah.
Say that piece again. Did you hear her, everybody? I'm going to say it. For most of us, there is a flame, but we feel like ashes.
Yes.
How many of you feel like you are a pile of ashes right now?
Yes. And it goes on to say, all it takes is one ember, just one ember, and the right fanning to create the flame again. And when I heard that, I realized that, like, for me, my camera was the ember, and like that brought back the passion in my life. Because I was in a job where they literally handed me a 5-year plan. Like, they sat me down and they were like, here is the next 5 years of your life. And I was like, not a part of the conversation, right? And it was nothing to do with the corporation.
Well, hold on. Let's just put you at the scene. So everybody, what she's talking about, she was excelling at Target. They literally were like, we're doing a great job. So great that we've got a 5-year plan for you, which a lot of people actually want in their jobs. They're like, that's the ladder I'm going to climb. But for you as Target's like, we love you. Here you are, what we're going to do about it.
Yeah.
You're like something started to feel like ashes, right?
Yes. Well, and it's like crazy because I've always been an artistic, passionate person, and I just don't resonate these days with the like, pursue your passions conversations, because I think most of us don't even feel passionate anymore. It's like, if I knew what my passion was, maybe I could be in pursuit of it. But for so many of us, we've gotten into this monotonous rhythm or this hustle mentality where it's like, wait, what actually lights me up? Like, when do I actually feel joy? And it's crazy because I didn't buy a camera to start a photography business. I bought a camera to feel passionate again. And so I remember it was like the first thing in my adult life where I would like sleep with my camera on my nightstand because I wanted to learn how to use it. Like, I wanted to like pick it up any time of day, whether it's dark or light out, and create something with it. And it was like this reminder of like, my childlike curiosity and creativity never left me. I just wasn't fanning the flame of it, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning for me. And I remember the first time somebody offered to pay me to take photos, I was like, wait, what? I can make money doing this? And it was just like this crazy awakening of like, you can be passionate again, you can get paid to pursue your passions, but you also can take charge of your life. And one thing I want to note, because I think it can be really unrelatable unintentionally, is when people talk about building businesses, they make it seem like they just abandon their past identity or the thing that they were doing. But every single time I've started something new in my career, I have maintained the thing that has gotten me to that point and used that to fuel and fund the next dream. So
All right,
every
so
single
everybody,
thing.
I want to
Yeah.
stop here because I
Yeah.
want to pull out the tactic. Okay, so
Yeah, do it. Let's do
we're
it.
already dropping knowledge, everybody. I don't even know if this is going to be 5 or 7 or 9 or 11, but I'm going to pull this out for everybody
Yes.
so that you can actually track to what she's saying. So first things first, will you repeat? Well, first things first, everybody, the book is How Are You Really? This is my friend, Jenna. And she is incredible. And I've pinned the title of the book and her account to the top of the chat. You should be asking questions in the comments right now, okay? Because we're going to come to your comments, but I'm going to distill this down. So takeaway number 1, please repeat the meditation sentence that is the core for all the teaching that we're going to talk about today. Repeat that, please, Jenna. That's takeaway 1.
So it says, for all of us, there was a fire, but for many of us, we feel like ashes. And all it takes is one tiny ember and the right things and people to fan it to create the flame again. And I listen, the meditation is called, I think it's called Sit Around the Fire. If you Google it on Spotify, you can find it. And it's just so beautiful. But to me, I think that's so exemplary of where so many people are, is we just feel like a pile of ashes and we forget that all it takes is one little spark, just one tiny spark, and the right things in your life to fan it. That's the biggest thing.
Awesome. So takeaway number 1, everybody, is that there is still an ember burning inside of you. And it feels like curiosity. It feels like the things that you enjoyed doing when you were a kid. It feels like the things that you're drawn to. And what Jen is trying to tell you is that step number 1 is to pay attention to that thing, even if it's barely smoldering, the thing that makes you come alive a little, you have to lean toward it, because that is the pathway toward aligning your life to what really matters to you and is going to work for you. The second takeaway that you have learned is that in the beginning, when you take that ember, right, this is not about marrying $1 million businesses with it. This is about fanning the things you're curious about and interested in and drawn toward, and surrounding yourself or following people that are doing the thing that you're drawn toward. Even when you said, Jenna, I just wanted to pick up the camera to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
I felt something flutter inside of me, because I don't really know how to take great pictures, and I've always wanted to. I rely on my camera. And so I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. That might be the little ember inside me. There might be something about leaning more into doing the creativity and being on the other side of the camera, or learning more about it, than being on this side where I am. And so, guys, that's an example of an ember starting to get fanned by Jenna. And so that's takeaway number 2. Now, what I want you to understand is that you kind of kept leaning toward this thing that had you come alive. How did you go from like, okay, I'm now letting myself use this $300 used camera from Craigslist. I'm noticing something come alive in me because I am pursuing something that I'm curious about.
Yeah.
How did that go from I've just brought something back into my life that makes me not feel like a zombie anymore to you making money taking photos for people? How did that happen?
So my brother and sister-in-law got married in Jamaica, and it was right around the time that Drew and I were planning our wedding. And so I was in on all of the wedding vlogs. This was pre-Pinterest days. And I asked them if I could bring my camera with to Jamaica and take pictures. And one of the things that I love every single year is when I get a reminder on Facebook of me sharing an album of photos that was titled My First Wedding Photography Project. Not, you know, so-and-so's wedding, my first wedding photography project, meaning there will be more. I was so bold in those early days when I really came alive with it, where if I saw somebody get engaged, I was like, oh my gosh, congratulations. Hey, by the way, do you need a photographer? I would love to take pictures for you. I'm learning how to do it. And I still have messages like that where I really just decided, okay, how can I serve people while I learn? And I think a lot of times we hold back on our gifts because we want them to be perfect, or we want to have the perfect experience, or we want it to be tried and true before we even experiment with it. But I just like started taking pictures. I took pictures of cats. I did senior photos. I took boudoir photos. I mean, I did every type of photography, one, to learn what I loved and what I didn't love, but two, to just refine the art of it. And I think it's really important to note, there's a line that I've said to you recently in your own life, but also a line that is in my book. And it talks about when I was still working at Target, but I knew that I wanted to be a photographer. And it felt like I was riding two Clydesdale horses going in opposite directions, because I had this deep passion, but I also needed the security and the safety to be able to pursue it. And so I think a lot of us find ourselves at these crossroads where it's like, I really want one thing, but I need to fund that dream, and I need to have the safety and security to stay creative. And so it was like, I just like worked my job, my full-time job, and then went home and worked on the side hustle. And everything I've ever done in my business, whether it's my podcast or even writing this book, was a side hustle, because we're so quick to abandon something when it doesn't serve us any longer that we miss seeing the way that the things that we're doing can serve us and propel us forward. And so my full-time job funded the dream and gave me the ability to stay creative and not feel so risky. And I think people are quick to abandon the things that have gotten them this far, not recognizing that those things can carry them forward.
Okay, so I'm going to show you something here.
Okay.
So this is, she basically used this analogy because I was feeling completely overwhelmed and needing to make a choice between the old way I did business and a new way I'm doing business. And Jenna was like, Mel, you're literally like riding two Clydesdales and they're galloping in different directions. And it's time to like basically hop off one of them. But I want you guys to all hear something, because I think one of the things that really keeps you stuck, and yes, I'm talking to you as you're watching Jenna and I talk, and the book, How Are You Really, is pinned to the top of the comment. And it's going to hold your hand like a best friend and walk you step by step through everything we're talking about. Is that step one we've already talked about. There's an ember inside you that is really kept alive by your curiosity, the dreams and the passions and the artistry that is woven into your DNA is still smoldering in there. And conversations, podcasts, music, certain people start to fan the flame of it, and you can feel it. And it is essential in your life that you allow yourself to step toward that. And here's where people make a mistake. And that is, you get impatient, because you get impatient with the fact that it takes time for that ember to start to become a flame, and for that ember that is a flame to start to fire up your bank account. And so too many of you do not continue forward doing two things. So there are two things you got to do in life. There's the stability of the job at Target, or the job that is sucking your soul dry, or the thing that I was doing that I even loved, which was keynote speaking, that was starting to kill me because I was missing out on my entire family because I was gone all the time. And then there are the things like taking photos of friends and, writing or experimenting with podcasting, or starting to journal every day, or picking up the paintbrush again, or starting to follow travel bloggers that start to stir something inside you, that start to awaken something inside you. That is the fan and the flame that we're talking about here, people. And so you got to do both. These are the two Clydesdales until this all of a sudden has a path that can start to pay for your life. And look, for some of you, I'm going to tell you something. Attaching money to the thing that fans the flame chokes the soul of it. And so always having something that is allowing the foundation of your life to work and being intentional. I can't even speak this morning. I haven't had my coffee yet. Being intentional about making room to have really focused time to fan the flame.
Yeah.
That's also a formula for a life. Just because Jenna and I have built businesses from scratch that have impacted millions of people's lives, and we are proud of that, doesn't mean that's what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might come alive simply because you allow yourself to freaking paint again. You might come alive because the fan and the ember inside of you is really about cutting sugar out of your life.
Yep.
Or learning how to get out of bed when the alarm rings and take a walk every morning. It might be something else entirely. I just pulled into the house that we raised our kids in. We have lived here since 1997. 3 different renovation projects. I love this place. And this is the last night that Chris and I are going to spend here. Kind of surreal. It's amazing how a house really is like a container for a period of time and memories. There's our fire pit. This was an old barn foundation that I always dreamt of putting a pool in. Well, that never happened. And this is the field I've looked out on forever. Over there is a tree that my parents gave Chris when he turned 30. Oh, wow. And down there, this copper beech that Chris and I planted. It's really taken off after 25 years. So Chris and I are spending the night here. Oh, look at those are the Annabelle hydrangeas that I planted about 10 years ago. We're spending the night here, and it's the last night. And, I've been thinking a lot about lasts and firsts and how your life is full of last moments and first moments. And when our daughter was a senior in high school, I remember one of the moms that had older kids warning me, hold on, because senior year, all you're going to hear is, oh, it's the last year of school. It's the last homecoming. It's the last of the season of me being a high school athlete. It's the last school play. It's the last prom. It's the last time I'm going to see my friends. And then all summer long, she's like, and all summer it's going to be, but this is the last time I'm seeing so-and-so, and the last 4th of July, and the last this is my high school friends. And then it was really funny. She said, and then all of a sudden they come home from college and it's all the first. Like, but this is the first time I'm seeing my friends. It's the first time I'm home for Thanksgiving. It's the first time, my first summer. And I think your whole life is like that. It's waves of first experiences and last experiences. And what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to think about what I need and what kind of moment I want to have. Oh, man. As I spend the last night here in this place that I love so much. I think I'm going to make a drink. These are all my Home Depot and Lowe's hydrangeas that I've planted over the years. They look amazing. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cocktail. And I'm going to walk around the garden. Look at this. Isn't this cool? And I'm going to, for my last evening, just take it all in. I love hydrangeas because I love all the different colors that happen based on the acidity of the soil. One of the things I used to love to do here is walk around the property
at night, like my dad and mom do at home in Michigan. Oh, look at these Annabelles this year. I mean, these just exploded. Aren't they amazing, these Annabelle hydrangeas? And I'll take my gin and tonic and I will walk around. Oh my God, maybe I should take my last outdoor shower in that shower. Oh, wow. This was a tree that Chris and I planted when we first, the day we closed on the house. This guy right here. Yeah. First and last. Look at this. Oh, wow. These hydrangeas. This is great. Love that. Ooh, these need some water. Oh, wow. Look at the sunflowers. This is a time of year where there are a lot of lasts. So whether you're packing up a place that you used to live, or you're packing up a kid, and this is the last time you're going to have kids at home, or you're moving out of a house like we are, and this is the last summer or whenever you're going to spend, don't race past this moment. Isn't this cool? I love this place. So many incredible memories. Don't race past this moment. I think a lot of times when we feel sad or we're ending something, we want to just rush right through it. There's something really profound about completing a chapter, about closing something out with a bit of ceremony, and really being in the moment. Every time that you experience a moment that's the last time you're going to do something, you are spiritually, emotionally, and mentally ending something. And I want you to really savor that moment. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. See this bench here? I bought this at Brimfield Antique Market, and it is holding on by a thread, everybody. I mean, look at this. This bench has seen better days right here. And look at how this is split. See that? Like, you can literally see my hand in there. This is probably not the safest place to sit. But one thing that I'm going to do on my last night is I'm going to first make my drink. I'm going to come out our front door. And I'm going to sit on this bench after I wipe all the pollen off of it. And I'm just going to take in the moment. And by then the peepers will be peeping. And wow. I think when you take time to truly be in that moment of completion, you create an intentional opening for something new. It's literally like opening and closing a door. Because the last time I opened this up, look at our knocker. Isn't this guy cool? The last time I close this for good, I'm going to be opening up. Hi, bud. Look at this, everybody. Wow. This is exciting. I don't feel sad. Wow, I feel really kind of excited. I expected to start crying. Wow. Look at this, everybody. The jackets are gone. Holy smokes. I expected to be bawling my eyes out right now. I'm actually really excited. It feels like the last time, and it feels right. I didn't think I wanted to see it kind of empty, but I'm glad I did. Look, the paintings are off the wall, even the big painting from... I don't think this is depressing at all, Chris. I think it's actually really exciting. Holy shit, we got a lot of packing to do. I think it's really exciting. Wow. What do you think?
Pumped, man.
I'm pumped, Oak. I'm not sad at all. We had an incredible life here.
Hey, Instagram.
We had an incredible life here.
That we did.
And now we're going to launch a new chapter, people.
Yeah.
And somebody else is going to get to enjoy this.
Yeah. You
So-
enjoy this, guys.
How are you going to spend and mark the last moment you stand in this house? Because you're about to walk out the door and go to
I'm
Vermont.
about to walk out the door.
No, come here. Be with me.
What am I gonna do? Probably walk around and look at every room, take some photos. I don't know. It's weird. We've been in this house and we've left so many times, but I guess this time feels real because there's nothing in any room anymore. So I don't know. I think there's. At the end of the day, you can only hold on to something for so long. And I've held on to this place, your phone. I've held on to this place for a pretty long time. And I feel ready to leave because I have a place waiting for me.
Yeah, up in Vermont.
And, this place is awesome and I will miss it. And I look around and I don't feel like I need to stay.
I feel that way too.
I feel sad.
Why do you feel sad?
Because I'm leaving a comfortable place, leaving a familiar home and a familiar feeling. But I really feel that I don't need to be here. And that even though I'm sad to leave it,
It's time.
It had its time.
Yeah, it had its time. It did its job.
It did its job.
It gave us what it was supposed to give us. And now it's time to give this house to someone else and let them enjoy it and be here and hopefully have an incredible life here like we have. I love this room. I think this might be my favorite room in the house. What? It's not sad? I'm really proud of myself. I'm not sad, you guys.
Are you gonna sleep here tonight?
Yes, I'm gonna sleep here.
Close it off.
Close it off.
We have sage. I'm gonna sage in my room.
Okay. Yeah, we have sage. Oakley's gonna sage his room.
I'm gonna sage myself.
Yep. Okay. Let me see. Whoa, the paintings are off the wall. See, my bedroom doesn't look. Oh shit! I got shit in my closet. I got to take care of. This is overwhelming, people. Overwhelming. Okay. Wow. Look at this, everybody. Wow. Okay. I'm walking around. Outdoor shower. That's going in the living room in Vermont. Wow, look at this. It's pretty wild. But I'm sharing this with you because whatever it is that is going to be the last for you, I want you to take time. I want you to think about what you need to do for yourself. Ooh, now I'm starting to get emotional. Whoa, look at this. Wow. Look at those awards, guys. Those are the YouTube awards. Wow. Starting to feel a little overwhelmed. Not sad, but just like, wow, does stuff mark time, And I think that's why we hold on to it. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, let me focus on spending some time alone at the house with Chris and Oak and whatever it is that you're completing in your life, whatever chapter, take a moment, enjoy that last moment because there's a whole lifetime of firsts coming your way when you do. I know this is cheesy, but it's true. When you close a door that didn't work right, a brand new one opens up for you. And that's what's going to happen in my life as we leave this awesome, awesome place we called home for 25 years. All right. Next chapter. Let's go. It's a let's go, actually. So I was walking with my husband, Chris, on the beach this morning. It was phenomenal to be able to take some time and just be in a quiet place. And my husband turned to me and said, "Geez, Mel, you are normally such a powerhouse.
You are normally a woman on a mission. You have clarity. You are completely driven. You are so indecisive right now. Like you are spinning like a top. Now, can you relate to this? Do you feel like you're more indecisive or overwhelmed than ever before? That is me right now. And I know why. The reason why I feel incredibly overwhelmed is because I have intentionally and strategically made the decision to launch an entirely new chapter. As of this morning, the home that Chris and I raised our kids in for 24 years, I've lived there almost half my life. I've lived there longer than anywhere else in the planet. We have put our amazing antique farmhouse on the market, hopefully for another amazing young family to come in and enjoy. I am making major changes in my business. I am looking to hire an executive producer for a new podcast that I am launching. We've not announced the partnership yet in terms of who's distributing it, but we're creating the whole thing in-house. Looking for studio. Like I've just got all these exciting new things going on, big things. And I find that even when change is exciting, it's still scary. Even when you know that this big move that you want to make, this big goal that you want to achieve is something that you're meant to do. Even though you know it, it feels overwhelming. We found an incredible apartment in Boston and are negotiating right now a place. And I had nightmares last night about this apartment. Nightmares. Why? Well, because anything new, any change that you want to make is going to require you to literally end things in your old life. You see, I think that so many of us, there are two lives that we have. There's the life that you're currently living, and then there's the one that you're going to live next. Hello, whoever's flying that jet. I'm going to say that again. We all have two lives. The life you're currently living and the life you're going to launch next. And when you're in the middle of thinking about changes and making big changes in your life, I feel like it's almost like you're walking across a suspension bridge as you're building it. And so I have become so indecisive about everything. Like I noticed last night I was trying to reach out to somebody that was recommended to me as a potential person to hire as an executive producer for this big podcast we're launching this fall in Boston. And I couldn't even get myself focused to write the email. Now, the reason why is because when you're on edge, when you're overwhelmed, when you feel stressed or scared about something, your nervous system kicks into a state of alert, and that impacts your brain's ability to focus. So what do you need when you feel that way? I'll tell you what you need. You need to hit the freaking reset button. You need to get your mindset back in check. You got to focus on the simple things that you can do every day to make yourself feel steady and secure and clear, even as everything is changing around you.
You know, I talk a lot about being honest with yourself about what you want. And if you're somebody that's watching this and you have no clue what you want, I'm going to say that's total bullshit. I think you've probably decided that either you can't have it because you don't think you're smart enough or good enough or worthy enough, or maybe you think you're too old, or you've told yourself that you can't make a living doing it. Both are complete and utter lies that you're telling yourself. What you need to do is ask yourself this. If you took money off the table, if you didn't give a shit what anybody else thought, what's the thing you would love to be doing with your life? Seriously. Do you dream of being a professional photographer? Do you want to open your own restaurant? You always thought about traveling the world and entertaining kids with your juggling skills. I don't know. It's your life. You get to choose what you want to do. Be honest with yourself. What is it that you would want to do with your life if you didn't have to pay the bills doing it? Another thing you can ask yourself, who do you find yourself sort of envious of? You know, like you look at their life and you just think, gosh, how awesome that they get to do that. Well, once you have that answer for yourself, you've gotten really honest, you've pushed the bullshit aside, and you've really asked it for yourself and answered the question honestly, all you got to do is explore it. That's it. Just find one thing that you can do to enrich and expand your knowledge about it. Find one course online, Google the topic, stalk people that are pursuing this line of work. That's how you start to do it, one step at a time. So start with answering the question, what do you really want, with a massive dose of honesty. Google the topic and find one thing that you can do, just one. Push yourself and start to explore it. If you were to wake up and do that every single day, spend 10 minutes a day, you would be startled, astonished by what your life looks like in a matter of a year or two. So I want you to take a millisecond right now, and I want you to think about what you want. You. And I want you to be selfish. Screw Simon and the we thing. This is about me, right now. Sorry, Simon. What do you want? And here's the deal. I don't want it to sound good to other people. Being healthy will not get your ass on a treadmill. Losing your man boobs so you could hook up with somebody, now that's motivation. So I want to know, what do you want? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to triple your income? Do you want to start a nonprofit? Do you want to find love? What is it? Get it right here. You know what it is. Don't analyze it to death. Just pick something. That's part of the problem. You won't pick. So we're going to be talking about how you get what you want. And frankly, getting what you want is simple. But notice I didn't say it was easy. It's very simple. In fact, if you think about it, we live in the most amazing moment in time. So that thing that you have up here, whatever it may be, you want to use healthy eating to cure your diabetes, you want to figure out how to take care of the elders and start a new hospice center, you want to move to Africa and build a school, guess what? You could walk into a bookstore right now and buy at least 10 books written by credentialed experts on how the hell you do it. You could Google it, and you could probably find at least, 1,000 blogs documenting the step-by-step transformation that somebody else is already doing. You can find anybody online and cyberstalk them. You can just walk in their footsteps and let them, just use the science of drafting. Follow what everyone else has done, because somebody else is already doing it. So why don't you have what you want? When you have all the information that you need, you have the contacts that you need, there are probably free tools online that allow you to start a business or join a group or do whatever the heck you want. It all comes down to one word. Shut the front door. You know what I'm talking about? The F-bomb. It's everywhere. You hear it all the time, and I honestly don't understand what the appeal is of the word. I mean, you don't sound smart when you say it. And it's really not expressing how you really feel. It's sort of a cheap, shot to take. And of course, I'm talking about the word fine. How you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Oh, really? You are? Dragging around those extra 40 pounds? You're fine? Feeling like roommates with your spouse? And you're fine? You haven't had sex in 4 months? You're fine? Really? I don't think so. But see, here's the deal with saying that you're fine. It's actually genius. Because if you're fine, you don't have to do anything about it. But when you think about this word fine, it just makes me so angry. I mean, here we are at a conference about being alive, and you're going to describe the experience of being alive as fine? What a flimsy and feeble word. If you're crappy, say you're crappy. If you're amazing, say you're amazing. Tell the truth. And this not only goes for the social construct, I don't want to burden you with the fact that I hate my life, or, hey, I'm amazing, but that would make you feel terrible. The bigger issue with fine is that you say it to yourself. That thing that you want, I guarantee you, you've convinced yourself that you're fine not having it. That's why you're not pushing yourself. It's the areas in your life where you've given up, where you've said, oh, I'm fine. My mom's never going to change, so I just can't have that conversation. I'm fine. You know, we got to wait until the kids graduate before we get divorced, so we'll just sleep in separate bedrooms. I'm fine. I lost my job. I can barely pay my bills, but whatever. It's hard to get a job. And, you know, one of the reasons why this word also just annoys me so much is scientists have calculated, oh yeah, I'm coming down. Scientists have calculated the odds of you being born. That's right. They've crunched the numbers. I see you up there. They have crunched the numbers on you. Yeah, no, you guys standing up, you want to sit down for this. They've crunched the numbers on you being born. And they took into account all of the wars and the natural disasters and the dinosaurs and everything else. And do you realize that the odds of you, yeah, right here, put your computer away, stand up for me, Doug. So the odds of Doug here, turn around, say hi to everybody. The odds, yeah, of Doug being born at the moment in time he was born to the parents you were born to with the DNA structure that you have, 1 in 400 trillion. Isn't that amazing?
I'm so lucky.
Yes. You're not fine, you're fantastic. You have life-changing ideas for a reason, and it's not to torture yourself. Thank you. Thank you, Doug. And you know, Christine was right when she said all of you could be on stage, because all of you, we're all in this category. 1 in 400 trillion. All day long, you have ideas that could change your life, that could change the world, that could change the way that you feel. And what do you do with them? Nothing. The only thing that matters is the work that you're putting in, not the end result. And if your social media feeds are bringing you down, just remember, you're only seeing the end game. Anyone who is truly successful did one thing, and it's the same thing that we all do. They put in the work. And that work is what you don't see online. Every single day you make choices. You choose to drive or you choose to slide into the passenger seat of life. Which is it gonna be? The thoughts you allow yourself to spend time on determine if you get what you want, because your dreams matter, but you're the one who's gonna have to make them happen. I mean, look at this post from Lin-Manuel Miranda, the creator of Hamilton. This was 3 years before Hamilton hit Broadway, and he was ready to give up. Ed Sheeran, he was working on his dreams way before he was a Grammy Award-winning artist. Are you working? If you're not working, are you waiting for permission? Stop. You don't need permission. You just need to push yourself, to take that first step, and then to keep going. Will you fail along the way? Of course. And you know what? I hope so. And here's why. A study of entrepreneurs found that when you fail once, you double your chances of success. Failure doesn't make you give up. Failure happens when you give up. Those of you who succeed are the ones who get back up over and over and over again. Wait, what did you say? You're afraid of judgment? Of people criticizing you? Welcome to the Success Club. You don't belong if you don't have haters. Lady Gaga had so many people who doubted her that they formed online groups around the topic of her failure. It's a great sign when you have critics because it's life testing. How bad do you want it? Instead of thinking game over, how about thinking game on? Don't wait to feel ready because that's not going to happen. The bottom line, it's keep going, because no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to do the work for you. No one is coming to walk over and turn off Netflix. No one is coming to tell you to get out the door and go on a run. No one is coming to tell you to pick up the phone and make the phone call. It's up to you, and it's always going to be up to you. And whether you succeed or whether or not you fail is up to you. Your dreams, they don't expire. And that's why every single day you got to wake up and you got to renew your commitment to that dream by trying one more time every single day. I've been saying it a lot. that every single day when you wake up, you can decide who you're going to be. And the reason why it's so important to wake up and either consciously choose, decide, or set an intention about who you're going to be. The reason why this is so important to start doing every single morning is because if you don't consciously decide who you're going to be, your habits, your old patterns, and the stress of the day will decide it for you. You see, human beings, this was so liberating when I learned that human beings are nothing more than a ton of patterns. We learn patterns from other people, and then we repeat those patterns. And so if you find that you're stuck in a rut, or you're overwhelmed, or you're in a negative place, and you are really tired of being there, the first step to getting the life that you want is you must wake up every morning and interrupt the patterns and the automatic nature of how you go through your day, just going through the motions. And the simplest way to do that is to wake up and set an intention. So when I say decide who you're going to be, what I'm talking about is what mood are you going to be in? How are you going to behave? What are you going to show up and do today? Are you going to be motivated? Are you going to be patient? Are you going to be present? Are you going to be grateful? Those are decisions that you can make. And when you wake up in the morning and you set an intention, today I am going to see the good. Today I am going to be optimistic. Today I'm going to turn off the television when I get home. I'm going to spend an hour on my dreams. When you wake up and set an intention and you decide who you're going to be today and how you're going to show up and what it's going to feel like to be you, you take control of the day. And you give yourself an anchor to keep coming back to, so that when something stresses you out, or you catch yourself thinking negative things, or you get a text or somebody doesn't respond to you and you start to feel discouraged, come back to your intention. Today I said I would be optimistic. Today I said I would see the good. Today I said no matter how tired I am, when I get home tonight, I'm going to find an hour for me. That's what I mean, Night Queen Bee, when I say decide who you're going to be today. And that's why I think it's so powerful when you wrap your mind around the fact that every single day you get to wake up and decide who you're going to be today. And it's the first step in taking control and creating the life you want. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe, because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you, so make sure you subscribe. Mwah.